You know, you've heard me say chicks dig me. Obviously, that's true. I mean, think of it from their point of view. Is this a face you'd want to wake up to the rest of your life? The answer is yes! Woo! I look good this morning. All right, speaking of those chickies, let's get done with that. Whoa! We fell over. We have been rescued. Okay. I used to have a real good buddy named Gary Nordham. We just kind of drifted apart. Nordham had an assistant, his right-hand woman. It's been so long, I don't even remember her name. A little bit of tragedy in her life. Her husband burned up in a car wreck. Oh my God. So, if you want to cheer up your assistant, why not have your best buddy take her to lunch? So that's what we did. I kid you not, this is probably the best looking gal I have ever spent any amount of time with. We had a 3-hour lunch at the French Cafe in the Old Market. Great time. She had jet black hair, was in a canary yellow suit. Good Lord, she looked good. 3-hour lunch, went fabulously, except for one thing. I made a Gilligan's Island reference. Now, I would have been 45 or so at this point. She was probably upper 20s, 30. So I'm making a Gilligan's Island reference that anybody my age would go, oh. She had no freaking idea what I was talking about. And I said to myself, Phil, you ugly bastard, is this ever gonna work? I mean, are we just too far apart in age? So I decided, let's end this before it begins. I wrote a real nice note, got to her a couple days later. Nordham freaked. He said, what are you thinking? How can you pass this gal up? And he also told me she freaked. I mean, we did have a very nice time. And I suppose when you're that good-looking, you're not used to somebody saying, let me see. The famous Roxy. What a mistake. I know she was perhaps not your favorite, guys, but Roxy had a lot going for her. Huge mistake firing her. And early on, I told you that my biggest relationship issue has been inability to confront women when I'm dissatisfied with something. Well, same with her. Roxy, 1 week after our first date, I appeared at her door in my full scuba suit. Now, that's memorable for anybody, but Roxy had been previously married twice, both times to high mucky mucks within the Union Pacific system who knew each other, who at one point had similar photos on their desks. So anyway, she was used to quiet, professional type of guys. And here's Scuba Boy. She knew she was in for something. She and I went to an exhibition in New York City called The Gates. There was this internationally known artist named Christo, and he did these massive scale artistic things. And they go artistic because you can question whether the Gates was art or something else. The Gates were 12-foot high metal structures, kind of looked like a bunch of rectangles over the roads in Central Park. I'm doing a terrible job of explaining it. And I was watching the Today Show, and Katie Couric mentioned that this is going on in New York. So I called Roxy, hey, you want to go to New York, see this thing? Yeah, what the hell? So the next day we're on a plane and we go. Had a cool room overlooking Central Park, 22 stories up. Fun. We had a balloon ride in Sedona, Arizona. She had a fear of heights. In typical Roxy style, we went skydiving to help her get over her fear of heights. Also fun. We had a nice drive from San Diego, California, up the entire California coast into Vancouver, Canada. 2,000 miles, 10 days. People heard, kind of like my honeymoon with Fifi, but easier. People heard 2,000 miles and went, are you crazy? Then you'd point out it was over 10 days, so average 200 miles a day, 3, 4, 5 hours of driving, pretty relaxed. And oh my Lord, first time I had seen the Oregon coast, breathtaking. A fun one. We went to a charity auction for Boys Town, and one of the items in the oral auction were 2 tickets to the Notre Dame versus Navy game, which was an annual event that year played in South Bend, Indiana, in Notre Dame's stadium. And they went up for auction, and they made the comment that this priest who was bidding on them had gone like 10 years in a row. Apparently it's like some kind of tradition at this dinner auction, which I attended that time only once, that this priest would end up with the tickets. Well, I wanted the tickets, so I did my usual going once, going twice, whoa, and ended up getting the tickets. I think that many people felt that I am a shitheel. I've been to Key West like a dozen times. It's my favorite place to go. And one time was with Roxy. Memorable because she grew up in North Platte, had a best friend named Tom. Tom is gay, and Tom moved to Key West, a little more accepting environment than North Platte, believe it or not. Tom gave us a tour of Key West I had not before nor since seen. We went to a place for lunch, a gay club, where the waiters were completely naked. Interesting. And God bless Roxy, she was totally cool with it. She and I went on, oh, no, wrong person. Now, 5 years with Rox, 4 minutes of mention? Not fair. We did a ton. We had a lot of fun. She was wildly energetic. You would not think she had ever had a bad day. Just always up. But in the end, a couple of weird things that didn't work. About the same time I met Roxy, I met Val, or Valor E, to keep the E thing going with my ladies. Friend of Barb Lamore, E. And my friends and I used to refer to Val as Dog Lady. Not looks. She worked at the Nebraska Humane Society in the behavioral area. When a dog came in that was an adoption candidate, Val's job was to see whether that dog had a good enough personality to be adopted. In other words, it wasn't aggressive, that kind of thing. Val had a younger sister who had mental retardation. I, at one point, said she is retarded, which I think is how everybody says that. And Barb said, no, you have cancer. You have bipolar disorder. She has mental retardation. You don't say she is retarded any more than you would say she is cancer. Interesting. Old man learns something. Talk about a small one. Here's a small one. I drove up one night to her house in my brand new black Ford Taurus. It isn't as bad as it sounds. Ford eventually quit making the Taurus look like a little bubble machine. And it had some very minor styling. I pull up and get out, and Val says, ooh, sweet ride. I don't know, it just killed me. I totally screwed Val. Story is, I'd been going out with Val for a couple of months, and Kelly Farron month came along, and immediately Val got kicked to the side, never again to be seen. And I'll tell you the Kelly Farron month story. Hindsight, fate, whatever. massive mistake. Val was a great gal. We got along famously, and I crapped on her. You guys will remember a young lady named Melissa Chadwell, LN in code. One of the rare women to come up to me in a bar, Old Chicago, when I was with Nordham, as a matter of fact. Introduce herself, give me her phone number. After 5 minutes of conversation, we messed around for 2 or 3 months. I know you guys would agree with this. That was a pretty face. Very smart. She was an assistant to 2 different Fortune 500 company CEOs in Omaha. We were within 5 years of each other on age. Very smart, very good looking, couple of nice young teen daughters. Looked like a potentially great fit. However, one small problem. She was as alcoholic as you can get. I swear this is true. She drank a case of Bud Light a night. I tried to get her into rehab, AA, etc., but she wasn't in the mood. That extremely pissed her off. She went storming out from our last seeing each other, and it was over. However, I do have a lifetime of great stories that feature Melissa, the famous Melissa's Top 10. Kelly Farron Month. I've always called Kelly Farron Month because it lasted a month. And that's pretty short for somebody who would make this list. It is the shortest. Quickly, this story. I met her in like late October of one year. She was a salesperson for a company that sold off-site web storage. So you'd have your network, or off-site network storage. You'd have your network of all your data of all kinds, and it would reside in your office in a server. And what these dudes were selling was a replication of that off-site, so that if you had a fire or a flood or an electrical incident in the office, this other one was always up and safe. She talked for about an hour. I said, Kelly, I'm only marginally interested. Why don't you give me a month and follow up? Cool. Well, she left, and I turned to Sherry Abels, my wonderful right-hand gal, Sherry. I said, Sherry, sex is weird. There is as great looking a woman as we'll meet, very articulate, obviously very smart, and she does nothing for me. Now, I had known Sherry since she was 16. And she was 30 at the time. So it's not as weird as it sounds. So A month later, I get a call from Kelly Month, and it's the week after Thanksgiving. And you start the conversation like you start every conversation. So, how was the holiday for you? And the answer is, oh, it was great. How about you? Did you get together with the family? She asked me, how was it? This was 3 months after Fifi died. And instead of the knee-jerk response, I paused for, I suppose, 7, 8, 10 seconds, which is an interminable amount of time. And I said, Kelly Month, that was the worst holiday I've ever had, and I couldn't imagine having one worse than that. And there was stunned silence on the other end of the phone, and she said, Phil, I am so sorry to hear that. Good Lord, you just sound like you need somebody to talk to. Would you want to have a drink and talk about whatever's going on? I said, yeah, sure. So we go down to M's Pub in the Old Market, and we have a 3-hour drink, and we go to our cars, and we're like waving goodbye to each other, and all of a sudden Kelly gets a weird look on her face, and she comes walking over quickly and just plants a big kiss on me. Good technique in that kiss, too. Well, anyway, we had a little thing for a month. And probably 2 to 3 weeks into that, I had done one of my usual crazies, asked her whether she wanted to go on a cruise the next week, which would have been like week 2 or 3 of knowing each other. Her, apparently being a little nuts herself, she said, sure. We go on that cruise. There's an incident that Ryan and Eric are very familiar with that I don't think I'll go into in case La and Davis and Kari listen to this. Not my finest hour. And that was it. Therefore, Kelly Month. So, Kelly replaced Val, which was a total screw job to Val, in large part because she asked that Thanksgiving question and the events that followed. Okay, I had this wife, and I called her Cindy Hole. And after we were divorced, almost to a person, my friends say to me, you know, I never understood what you were doing there. She was so unlike anybody you'd been with. It just didn't seem like a fit. Well, maybe that was a good thing. that she wasn't like anybody I had previously been with, because they didn't work. I would say that Cindy was the most intelligent woman I've ever been with in a relationship. And I think Cindy was probably more intelligent than Pappy Pops Phil. That was a smart cookie. And I could go into all kinds of reasons for it, but she won every stinking academic award in high school, and she got a degree as a nurse, hated it, went into the family biz banking, knew more about that than you can believe. Smart chickie. Famous Cindy stories. During our time, I threw away all my Sprinkling Fifi tour memorabilia. She insisted that I keep it, which kudos to her. Me, in the garbage. It was time. We had the famous lunch in San Francisco. And for the benefit of the three Dawson McKeans, I will run through that. I had said for a long time that one of my bucket list things, if I had a bucket list, which I don't, would be to have lunch in San Francisco, meaning fly to San Francisco, have lunch, come home, same day. Cindy thought that was the dumbest thing she'd ever heard of. She told me that numerous times when I would bring it up. And finally I decided, screw you, I'm going. So I told her, I'm going. Are you coming or not? And she finally said, okay, Jesus. Well, my three sons and their lovelies came with. So I made a reservation at Alioto's in Fisherman's Wharf, my favorite San Francisco restaurant in the most famous part of San Francisco. And we flew out of Epley at 6 a.m. We landed, I don't know when, 3 hours later, but I'm talking time zone. And we proceeded to drive. How did we do this? There were 8 of us. I don't remember what vehicle we were in. Did we rent a minivan? Anyway, it doesn't matter. On the way there, we saw several San Francisco sites, like touristy things, one of which is Lombard Street, the crookedest street in the world. Kind of cool. And it was that. It was a bunch of hairpin turns going down a road. And the road was completely beautifully landscaped in flowers and bushes. And we saw what at that point was Candlestick Park, where the San Francisco 49ers and the San Francisco Giants football and baseball teams respectively played. and on and on. Before the day was over, we had at least seen, not gotten out of the car and done anything yet, seen 7 of the top 10 attractions in San Francisco. We get to Alioto's, we have lunch. It's, of course, great. Bread. The heck's the famous bread called? This old age sucks. It'll come to me, and I'll let you know. Oh. Is it sour? It'll come to me. And we flew home, and we got in about 10 o'clock. Sourdough bread. Oh, also while we were there, from Alioto's, you can see Alcatraz, the famous prison, the Rock. And with one of these broads, I had taken a tour of Alcatraz, which was pretty cool. All right, I'm at 31 minutes. I am also at only Cindy and Lori. So I'm gonna stop here. A half hour more, we'll wrap up the chickies, and we're on to other things. And by the way, we are careening toward the end of this crap. Goodbye.